And as you can see, Versace's home remains a crime scene this morning. It is a shocking story that will capture much of our attention for the next 2 hours.
At Gianni Versace's home, there is a constant flow of tourists, onlookers, and strangers who come to pay their respects. Into the evening Tuesday, the crowds kept coming.
What happened here in Miami Beach today is exactly what happened to John Lennon in New York City years ago. It's just a murder that will go on shaking people up forever.
I mean, he gave so much, and, you know, it's all taken away from us so quick.
He created the illusion of being a kind of god in that world, and he paid the price for that illusion.
The police say they have only one suspect in Versace's murder. His name is Andrew Cunanan.
It's a hot morning in sunny Florida. Tourists and locals alike are bustling through South Beach, Miami's notorious gay district. Gianni Versace approaches the gate to his luxurious mansion after his morning walk to get the daily newspaper. Little does he know, what will happen next will shake the nation. A loud bang rings out, then the sound of police sirens, while blood and newspaper pages litter the floor. The man who would become known as the Versace Killer had just ended his killing spree with the murder of one of the greatest fashion icons. Gianni Versace's untimely death on July 15, 1997, hit the world like a storm. Police barred off the bloody scene outside of his multi-million-dollar mansion, but it didn't stop curious onlookers from taking a peek at the gruesome scene. Versace's lover, Antonio D'Amico, explained the moment when his quiet morning coffee was interrupted.
I heard the shot. My heart stopped to beat. Something said to me, something happened. Anyway, so I ran out and I saw Gianni lay down on the stairs in the blood.
Gianni Versace's somber memorial service was held on July 23rd at the Duomo Cathedral in Milan, Italy. His close friends Elton John and Sting performed Psalm 23, "The Lord is my shepherd," together. Supermodel Naomi Campbell, who was considered his favorite, was especially affected by his death.
How do you hope, in closing, Naomi, the world will remember him?
I don't know, just that he was a great person. You know, he was a he really loved what he did. He loved designing, he loved putting on great shows. He loved treating people generously, and he loved being happy and wanting people around him to be happy.
The devastating loss left the Versace fashion empire in the hands of his brother Santo and his sister Donatella, who described his death as a great loss for Italian fashion. But what twisted person would kill such a beloved man, and why? Andrew Cunanan was born on August 31st, 1969, to Filipino immigrant Modesto Pete Cunanan and Italian-American Mary Ann Schillaci. The youngest of four, Andrew was often doted upon as the favorite. The only one of his siblings to be sent to an elite college prep school, he was reportedly given the family's master bedroom. Andrew fit in with the rich kids immediately, becoming very popular, and at graduation, he was voted least likely to be forgotten. But despite the inheritance Mary Ann received from her father, the family was significantly less well off than his wealthy classmates. So Andrew hid it successfully through extravagant lies. Life at home was very hard. With reported domestic violence towards his mother and suspected infidelity, fighting was not something new to the household. In 1988, Modesto fled to the Philippines to escape being charged with embezzlement. This wasn't before he sold 2 of the heavily mortgaged family homes and his cars, leaving his wife Mary Ann with 4 children and only $700 to her name. Devastated to learn what type of person his father truly was, Andrew decided to track down Modesto in the Philippines to a small town near Manila, only to find his father living in what he would refer to as a squalor. Disgusted, he flew back home and dropped out of college. Andrew's lies about living an extravagant life followed him to San Francisco, where he made his living as a gigolo, calling himself Andre de Silva. At night, he would prowl the many nightclubs, hooking up with older men, and became a prized sugar baby to the wealthier ones. Andrew hid behind several masks. Some nights, he claimed to be married to a wealthy Jewish princess. On other nights, he owned land in the French Riviera, and on occasion referenced his own roots, claiming to own a plantation in the Philippines. He had to keep up appearances, name-dropping celebrities left and right. According to Anthony White, director of Swanky's San Diego restaurant California Cuisine, Andrew would leave tips of upwards of 50% on bills that were well into the thousands, a clear way to flaunt his wealth. This lifestyle didn't last long, however. He was no longer able to keep up with the younger men. Andrew began gaining weight, almost weighing 200 pounds. He shed his fashionable brand name clothes for shapeless t-shirts and jeans. Instead of his usual minor temperament, he began lashing out in anger at others. The physical decline of the attractive social enigma everyone came to love was very reflecting of his internal decline. On April 24th, 1997, days before embarking on his spree, Andrew sat his friends down for what he would call the Last Supper. This was an almost somber, contemplative event, and Andrew was anything but himself. It ended in him explaining to his companions that he needed to take care of business. He purchased a one-way ticket to Minneapolis the next day. On April 25th, Andrew arrived in Minneapolis to stay with his ex-lover David Madsen, who had recently moved, along with Andrew's best friend, Jeffrey Trail. Andrew felt angry and betrayed that they'd both leave him alone. Jennifer Weberg, the caretaker of the loft David lived in, described Andrew as aloof, and David seemed irritated. A fight ensued around 9:45 p.m. on the 27th when a neighbor heard someone yell, the sound of someone striking a wall and then running water. Concerned that he didn't show up for work for 2 days, on April 29th, 2 of David's colleagues showed up to his apartment. One of them claimed to have heard whispering on the other side of the door, but there was no response when they knocked. Borrowing the superintendent's key, they discovered nobody was home, except the body of Jeffrey Trail wrapped in a carpet. Police searched the apartment, which was rife with evidence. Inside a gym bag was pornography and the same type of bullets that were found in Jeffrey's body. The bag tied the crime to Andrew, with his name written clearly on it. Andrew and David were missing from the crime scene. Some speculated that David was held hostage by Andrew, while others believed there was some type of Stockholm syndrome that occurred. Neighbors spotted the duo on April 28th walking David's dog, and others reported seeing David's red Jeep Cherokee driving north. David's Jeep was found parked at a Chicago parking garage from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. on April 30th. Fishermen found his body by the shore of Rush Lake on May 2nd, with 3 bullet wounds, matching the bullets in Jeffrey's body. These were Andrew's first victims, but certainly not his last. On May 4th, 72-year-old Lee Miglin was found dead in his garage in the Gold Coast, Chicago. His body was bound with duct tape and riddled with over 20 bullet wounds. His wife Marilyn became suspicious when her husband didn't meet her at the airport as he promised. She alerted the police when she arrived home to find the gate unlocked and the kitchen a mess. Police found that the perpetrator had slept in Lee's bed, left a half-eaten ham sandwich in the library, bathed in the bathtub, and shaved in the bathroom, where he'd left beard stubble all over the floor, and a toy gun on the sink. Between $8,000 and $10,000, and some of Lee's suits were missing. Despite there being no signs of forced entry, the family vehemently denies that Lee ever met Andrew. But Lee's son, Duke, was one of the many wealthy people Andrew had name-dropped in conversation with friends. "It's very difficult," Duke said in an interview with ABC Chicago. "My father didn't get to see my children. He didn't get to meet my wife." This murder marked Andrew Cunanan as the 449th fugitive on the FBI's most wanted list, and a $50,000 bounty was placed on his head. 8 days later, on May 10th, the FBI had traced his car phone, but Andrew thought ahead. He knew he needed a new car, and consequently a new victim. William Bill Reese, caretaker at Finn's National Cemetery in Pennsville, New Jersey. Bill was found dead in the cemetery's office. In place of his red pickup truck was a green Lexus with an Illinois license plate. The previous day, Andrew had gotten out of his car at the funeral home and asked Bill for some water. Despite his kind, neighborly response, Andrew shot Bill in the basement of his house. Andrew made his way to Miami, Florida, where he hid in plain sight for months. He rented out several rooms in the Normandy Plaza, a beachfront hotel that cost about $36 a day, paid in cash. Most of his meals were purchased from the local pizza place. According to the hotel manager, Ramon Gomez, Andrew would go out every night with an altered disguise. He would wear wigs and dress up to go to local clubs. He was seen a few times at a gay hustler bar called Twist. The manager had to do a double take when he thought Andrew was spotted. I dismissed it like it couldn't be true. There was also a sighting at the 11th Street Diner, a 24-hour diner that was across from the Miami Beach Police Department. When he initially arrived in Miami, Andrew needed money, so he decided to pawn off a coin he stole from Lee's house for $200. The pawn shop owner had asked for 2 pieces of ID, so Andrew showed his real ID, as well as the address of the Normandy Plaza where he was staying. She saw Andrew on TV on the night of Versace's death and called up the Miami Police Department to give them the evidence, but it was left untouched. On the somber morning of the 15th, at 8:55 a.m., Andrew walked up behind Gianni Versace and shot him from the back. After committing his most extravagant crime, Andrew ran towards the nearby parking lot to change his clothes and ditch the stolen car. The police were on the case immediately, but Andrew managed to escape through a fire exit, fleeing in a taxi. All that was left as evidence were his passport, a personal check, and a pawnshop ticket for the coin. 8 full days came and went, with no whereabouts of Andrew Cunanan. The entire city was shut down, and members of the LGBT community were concerned for their safety. All came to a collapse on July 23rd on the Indian Creek, 2.5 miles from Versace's mansion. The caretaker of a vacant houseboat, Fernando Carrera, stopped by to perform some maintenance. When he entered, he knew there was something wrong. The couch was moved and shoes were on the floor. In the bedroom, he found Andrew Cunanan. Fernando managed to call the police just before a gunshot rang out. Within minutes, police surrounded the houseboat. Hours later, the police revealed that instead of shooting Fernando, Andrew had turned the barrel towards himself, ending his reign of horror. Fernando, who was shaken but alive, received the $50,000 reward. Andrew's family was unable to fathom the horrific offense that took place. His siblings, who he didn't have a lot of contact with, were especially shocked. Something horrible must have happened in his adult life, his sister Elena said in an interview with Sun Centennial. I pray that in his last moments, he looked up to God and asked for forgiveness. Both her and her brother Christopher had only learned of his lifestyle after the media reported about David and Jeffrey. In an interview with the LA Times, Modesto Cunanan claimed he was working with a Filipino filmmaker to find out the truth behind his son's killing spree and death. He truly believed that his son was innocent up until his own death in 1997. The film was never made. While the family was surprised, citizens were relieved. We are deeply grateful and relieved that the hunt for Andrew Cunanan is finally over, and no more families will have to endure such pain and grief, the family of Lee Miglin explained. Could greed and jealousy have really led to one of the most notorious killing sprees in American history? Some suspect Andrew and Gianni crossed paths at some point, but his vengeance might have been a way to get back at the very community he was part of, torn apart from rejection. We may never know the true intentions of a twisted killer, but we will never forget the effect the spree had on the world.